We're still a ways away from getting the upcoming Palkia League Battle Deck, but I think we still have time to speculate on what the next deck or decks are coming next in the League Battle Deck series. So in today's video, we are going to talk about my picks for what I think the next League Battle decks are. I'm Jet from inthirdperson.com. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let me share my thoughts on what I think the next League Battle decks are going to be. And again, I don't have any insider information. This is me pure tinfoil hat on. But there is a lot of information out there on how League Battle decks are built and how they're released. And I think some important things to note is that League Battle decks are constructed, at least at this point in time, they are constructed with 6 ultra rare cards. In this instance, it's 3 Palkia V, 2 Palkia V-Star, and Radiant Greninja. Mew was the 2 Mew V, 2 Mew V Max, 2 Genesects, and this carries on. There were level 2 decks. I don't think they're going to go back to those. So we know there's 6 ultra rare Pokemon in each one. So whatever deck they are designing, it's gotta work in a way where it's 6 ultra rare cards. On top of that, they release 3 decks a year. And we saw last year it was Mew in the fall, and then the Calyrex decks in the spring/summer. The year before that, it was the Urshifu decks, and then Inteleon. And the year before that was Zacian V-Star or Zacian V, and then the Pikarom and Reshiram decks. So it's 3 decks a year. This year, we know we are getting Palkia V-Star. So understanding that, we're probably getting 2 decks at the end of the year. And my initial thinking, I'll go circle back on like some of my predictions from the last video. And if you watched that one, I guessed that the deck that became Palkia V-Star was going to be Arceus V-Star. And while I was technically wrong on that, I kind of wasn't. They recently announced that the upcoming Trainer's Toolkit for this year is actually going to have a 1/1 Arceus line, which I think is absolutely amazing. And because of that, I'll be buying this because I'm still trying to get Arceus cards for my IRL deck, and I would highly recommend picking this up. Even though we're transitioning into an era of EX cards, Pokemon V are probably going to be a staple for the foreseeable future. So having an Arceus that can slot into pretty much any V deck is amazing. So not getting a V battle or League Battle deck of that. My other guess was Koraidon and Miraidon as League Battle decks, and I think that this is still somewhat gonna happen. I think the Miraidon deck is a lock. However, I don't think that's happening till next year. And looking at how these are released, they kind of release these decks a year after they've originally been released in their previous sets. So like, for example, Mew VMAX came out a year after Fusion Strike, and then the Calyrex decks came out a year after Chilling Reign. So I think that releasing the Koraidon and Miraidon decks are a little too soon. I also think at this point in time, Koraidon is not strong enough. Granted, there's still time to get the cards that it needs to make Koraidon good, but right now I don't think this is it. I do think Miraidon next year is going to be a League Battle deck, but yeah, just my guess. But that leaves for what's coming out at the end of 2023. And if I had to guess what it is, my guess number 1, it's Giratina V-Star. I think this is a deck that works perfectly in the League Battle deck format. We've seen the results post-rotation in Japan. Giratina V-Star and Lost Box look like the deck to beat going forward. And here's an example deck list out of Japan, and you could totally build this in the format of a League Battle deck. Here are your 6 ultra rares with the Giratina V and the Giratina V-Star. You don't get a Drapion, you can just get that on your own, but all of these other cards you could easily work into the context of a League Battle deck. So I think that, yeah, the fact that it is a top tier deck, it fits with 6 ultra rares. By the time this is released, it'll also be about a year old. I think that the next round that Giratina is perfect for that League Battle deck spot. And on top of that, you can take out the Giratinas and then just put in some other single prizers and make this the single prize Lost Box deck. I think that's amazing. So fingers crossed. I think it makes the most sense for Giratina to be one of those 2 League Battle decks. The other deck that I think is going to be converted into a League Battle deck, Lugia V-Star. There's so much hype around this card in the last few months for it being absolutely broken. And yes, post-rotation, it's going to be not as good as it once was, but based on the results we're seeing out of Japan, it's still going to be a top 5 deck, and it's probably only going to get better as more special energies added to the game and more cards are added that can pair with the Lugia Archeops combo. Here's an example of a Lugia list with Tyranitar. And theoretically, they could go Lugia, like 2-2 Lugia and then 2 Tyranitar. I don't think they're going to do that because this Tyranitar actually rotates next year. And that's another thing to keep in mind, is that whatever decks they make have to be rotation safe. And Giratina is totally rotation safe going into the next year. Well, pretty much. And this variation of Lugia, not so much, because the Tyranitar and I think the Stonjourner rotate as well. However, there are most recently some variations of the Lugia deck that are running more single prize attackers, Radiant Charizard. Here's a Weird Ear, the Snorlax cards. And we could see something like this packaged up. And even just 3-3 Lugia, and then you put in your own Pokemon for building out the rest of this deck. And also the fact that Lugia and Giratina are both incredibly popular Pokemon. They're probably still going to be incredibly strong by this time, like at the end of this year. I think that the 2 decks we're probably getting, and this is my guess, Giratina V-Star, Lugia V-Star. Now, a couple of other ones that are out of left field that could possibly fit based on the criteria we've established: decks that are about a year old, decks that are really strong, decks that are fairly rotation safe. We've also got Goodra V-Star. It's basically you take the Giratinas out and you put the Goodras in. It's slightly different. I personally would prefer Goodra over Giratina because I love playing the Goodra deck. However, I don't think they would do this because it's basically the same deck, and Giratina is way more popular and sellable than Goodra. So while it technically does fit the criteria, I don't think this is going to be it. But I would love to be proven wrong. Another deck, this is kind of an outside shot, like the next tier down, Zoroark V-Star. I know we're not really talking about this deck right now, but it does fit the format. You can just go 3-3 Zoroark, and then it's all these other cards would totally work. Heck yeah, throw in the Alakazam here if you want, and you can put in the Gengars, the Bibarels. I mean, I've seen other lists that have the Gardevoir engine, and that totally works here too. This is one that also kind of fits the criteria, but this is more of an outside chance. And then last but not least, for funsies, here's a Dialga V-Star deck. This would also be fairly rotation safe. You could also even work in the new Miraidon EX. I'm very excited to try. I love the Dialga V-Star card, and I want to build this as an IRL deck, like Dialga in general. But in recent times, there has been a new Dialga archetype with the Miraidon because there's a new Magnemite that's lightning type, and so you can use Miraidon to set up the Magnemites and then go into Magnezone and just accelerate a whole bunch of energy. This is like on the fringes of what could possibly be. Like, there's some synergy with like Palkia, Dialga, but I don't think this is it. But if there is anything beyond the 2 quote-unquote obvious picks, I think this is one to consider as well. So with that said, my prediction is, once again, that later this year we will be getting a Giratina V-Star deck, League Battle deck, and a Lugia V-Star League Battle deck. Again, speculation. This is not news. This is just me trying to connect the dots and making my best guess at what the next 2 decks are going to be. And again, I'm guessing there's going to be 2 decks, and I'm also guessing that Miraidon will be one of the first decks in the spring 2024. So those are my predictions. What are your thoughts? What do you want to see as a League Battle deck, and what are your predictions for what's coming next? Again, thank you so much for watching this video. Twitch fam, stay here. Before we go, some quick plugs. You can find me on all the things: YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram at In Third Person. You can find me over on Twitch at In Third Person, where I stream the Pokemon trading card game every Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern time, like I am right now. And check out the website, inthirdperson.com, for more articles and videos on video games, board games, and other nerdy pursuits. Twitch friends, please stay here, but we do have to say goodbye to our YouTube family. So YouTube, until the next one, we're out of here. Bye-bye.